Hi, this is Sabin Bhartia. We are here at KubeCon and CloudRayCon in Barcelona, Spain. And today we have with us Boris Renski, your CMO and co-founder of Mirantis. First of all, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
How has been the show so far?
Awesome. We had a lot of activity in the booth. We launched a number of interesting offerings, and we had a lot of interest in them. Also, very importantly, we had our super awesome party on Tuesday, which for an epic ending got shut down by police about 20 minutes before the official end, which made it extra memorable. So I think couldn't have wished for a better show.
What did you guys do that police had to come there?
I guess we were too loud.
That's
I mean, in reality, what happened is we're doing this Kubernetes or Die theme at the show, which comes from Skate or Die. So we have Kate's or Die theme, and the venue where we had the party, it's in the area that's a fairly famous like skateboarder hangout area. And while we're having a party, the skateboarders that are random, completely unrelated to us, were just like hanging around by the venue, and they were making a lot of noise. And late at night, the police like got called by some of the neighbors for the skateboarders. But when the police came, they're like just shut down the party by the way as well. So it's not exactly our fault, but you know, it made for an interesting ending to the event.
That was a theme, right?
That's right.
So
That's a theme. It fit perfectly with a theme. Yes.
A lot of people might think you staged it.
Actually, some people were asking about this. Yeah, they would come to the booth and
Did you pay the police
Did
to
you
come
call
here?
the cops to come? Yeah, it's exactly so that you continue on the theme.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can disclose that you actually paid the police to come there. They were not policemen; they were actors, who are dressed up like policemen.
No, it was very real. It was.
So you also said that you made some announcements here.
Yes.
So let's walk through them one by one.
Sure. So the first thing is support for brownfield Kubernetes deployments. We call it Bring Your Own Distro Enterprise Support. What we're doing basically is enabling companies that have a number of different Kubernetes environments that were adopted throughout a period of time by different dev teams to actually get support and get on a consistent code base. The reason for it is because Kubernetes is kind of a very engineer-driven technology. So unlike with, for instance, virtualization or many of the infrastructure components that are in an enterprise initiatives of a central IT that is offering them to the different development groups, Kubernetes is something that actually developers would bring in. They would take upstream Kubernetes, they'd use it to build something, and then ultimately, once it hits production, you need to find a way to actually host it internally and support it internally. And because developers tend to be opinionated, there's a lot of these kind of brownfield, as we call them, Kubernetes deployments all over the place. And when they start hitting production, you need to have a vendor that is able to support them. We dealt with a similar problem in the OpenStack world because there's a lot of OpenStack snowflakes that we actually had to support in the beginning. And because of that, we've built our support organization in a particular way. And unlike most of the vendors where support is very process-oriented for a particular piece of software, we tend to hire top-notch upstream contributors and engineers into the support team that also are part of the upstream community, which are capable of supporting a much broader set of solutions. And we had to do that to deal with the snowflakiness of the OpenStack installs. And now we're kind of carrying over that capability to the Kubernetes use case. So this is the first thing, bring your own distro enterprise support for Kubernetes. The second thing is also quite exciting, and this is Kubernetes as a service. And the particularly exciting thing of it is, pretty much everybody has Kubernetes as a service offering. What we do is we actually are able to deploy and manage Kubernetes clusters on bare metal with no VM intermediary at all. So we can do also, bare metal to cloud or cloud to cloud, which is something that many people can do. But the bare metal piece is unique to us. And in our KaaS offering, as we call it, Kubernetes as a service offering, is basically like a way for a person to log in and start provisioning Kubernetes clusters, on bare metal, in AWS, other places, network them together, etc. We've used all standard open source components. So we use actually Cluster API for Kubernetes cluster provisioning. We use KubeSpray underneath Cluster API as a Cluster API provider to do HA deployments of Kubernetes on bare metal and in the cloud. We use Ironic for doing bare metal management. We do Cinder so that you can plug in existing storage like NetApp or EMC if you want to use your existing enterprise storage for as a block storage device for Kubernetes clusters. And we also use an OpenStack project called Octavia, which is an API to like third-party load balancers. So for example, if you're dealing in an on-prem environment and you have like an F5 load balancer and you want to use it to load balance between the Kubernetes clusters, you can do that without KaaS. So like long story short, we are bringing most of the competency that we've gained with OpenStack in on-prem private cloud environments to a Kubernetes context to make it very easy to use for on-premise and on bare metal.
So what kind of customers are you looking at with these two offerings that you are bringing to the table?
Very much the same types of customers that we had for OpenStack actually. So maybe a slightly bigger skew towards the enterprise sector. So historically, we have like two very distinct segments of customers. One is telcos, and telcos actually probably like 60 to 70% of our business by revenue. And the second sector is large enterprise. I think that in the Kubernetes context, it's skewed a little bit more towards enterprise because telcos are just now starting to adopt Kubernetes. But you probably saw some of the announcements that we've done earlier in collaboration with AT&T, where we're actually using Kubernetes as a lifecycle management substrate for OpenStack as an NFVI layer. So we're starting to actually, penetrate with Kubernetes into the telco sector as well.
Whether you talk about brownfield or whether you talk about bring your own Kubernetes distro, what are you reacting to? What problem you're seeing in the ecosystem? Are you seeing a problem that you're trying to solve, or you just want to differentiate yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we are trying to solve a problem. So with Bring Your Own Distro is just like I said, the problem is to enable organizations that run a lot of brownfield Kubernetes deployments to get support without necessarily having to throw away all of the work that they've invested in. So, if you go, for example, like, let's say you're the large enterprise, you have 10 dev teams, and they use, 3 slightly different permutations of Kubernetes to, run applications. And now you want to have a vendor to come in and support it. So if you have somebody like Red Hat come in, what they'd say is, okay, great, like throw away all this crap, take OpenShift, and then we'll support you. The problem is that there's a lot of already vested know-how, and there's already kind of a investment in the existing Kubernetes configurations that are out there. So like throw your stuff away and take my stuff does not oftentimes work. So we use an approach where we support you on your stuff and then provide you path to gradually move to our stuff if you so desire. So that's the problem that we're addressing for Bring Your Own Distro. For Kubernetes as a service, the big problem we're solving is cost efficiency associated with running Kubernetes, because Kubernetes was born in the cloud, and it assumes that a lot of things in the infrastructure are already solved for it. So if you run Kubernetes in AWS, for instance, right, you can use like a load balancer as a service. It's already there. You want DNS, you have DNS as a service. You get VMs that you can layer it on, or you can get the managed Kubernetes altogether. When it comes to like the lower level infrastructure problems, they're completely hidden for you by the cloud provider. Now, when you go to the enterprise environment, you really have only 2 options to run Kubernetes. Either you go and pay VMware to kind of emulate an EC2-like environment for you on premise, or you have to basically, build your own VMware, or solve these, like you need to pick a project or like build a solution for Pixie booting the servers. You need to build your own load balancer. You need to bring in some, storage and stitch it all together. So it's either DIY or a known vendor like VMware. And DIY is, very expensive and risky, and VMware is expensive. So what we ultimately solve for is we provide a straightforward solution for running Kubernetes on bare metal that is cost effective, and also we leverage a lot of the experience that we have in the space coming back from the OpenStack days to make it fairly cost efficient for the customers.
Excellent. You're taking on a lot of big guys out there.
Well,
you have to.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about, or we talked about we went into detail also. That all these announcements.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Why didn't you come to our party?
The reason was twofold. One reason was that my equipment was gone, so I was on phone. That was the only time I can talk to them.
Oh no, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
Because time zone issues, so I was trying to resolve it, and that was my primary concern.
Okay, so I have a second question then.
Yes.
Will you come to our party in San Diego?
Yes, of course I'll come, as long as the airlines doesn't lose my bag. So.
Okay. Well, let's hope so. Right?
Will you? I have one question. Okay. Will you call cops in the next party?
We won't call the cops, but we'll try to make the party even better than the one that we have in Barcelona. And given how likely, based on previous experiences, people to call the cops in US in general, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fairly easy and straightforward thing to do. If we're able to get the cops to a party in Barcelona, getting them to come to a party in San Diego without proactively calling is going to be no problem. We just have to make a really good one, and that's it, and they'll be there.
No, I have seen Mirantis party earlier, and I do know that they do get wild and crazy. I love the previous one. It was where was? There's a band, live band was there. I'm just forgetting the name, but it was crazy.
The live band we had, that was in Atlanta.
No. There was one more. I have a good picture of you dancing. I will put actually in the video.
We had a party in Barcelona as well for the OpenStack Summit in Barcelona. In Moritz.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So you do all crazy party in Barcelona? Is there something?
No, it just happened. It just happened to be like it's a coincidence.
I think we covered everything, right?
Yeah, I think we're good.
So thanks, Boris, for talking to me again. And you're not going to get rid of me anytime soon. So no matter what you tell Joe, I'll keep talking to you.
All right, no problem. Thank you.